Yeah, I knew that would slip in.
Yeah.
Do you remember elm trees?
Oh, God, I do. I remember the diseased Dutch elms. Yeah, absolutely. Are they coming back?
They are coming back, and I'll tell you a story, because in the 1960s, Dutch elm disease, as you know, ravaged our English elms. Within 20 years of its arrival, it had destroyed 17 million trees. So tonight, it's gratifying to bring you a story of hope as we meet Paul King, a former tree surgeon turned nurseryman who, tired of felling these diseased elms, turned his attention to trying to save them.
Well, to think that the elm tree is actually going to be at Chelsea in 2011 is really exciting. People of my generation have definitely got an affinity with the elm because they remember when the elm tree was as prevalent in the English landscape as the oak tree is today. Can I get you to imagine the English countryside with another 20-odd million mature trees in it? In the 1970s, that's what we were actually looking at before Dutch elm disease struck. During my early working life, my majority of time was spent felling diseased elm trees, and as a tree man, obviously that was quite a sad occurrence to see the elm completely disappearing from the English countryside. The disease itself is a fungus, and the vector of the fungus is a beetle. Effectively, the disease works by blocking up, for want of a better word, the arteries of the tree, rather like a human being, causing it to die back over a number of years. This is a typical result of Dutch elm disease. You can see there are still signs of the fungus, the elm beetle exit holes, and the tree has become very, very dry and brittle. We're hoping to use this dead elm as a contrast on the front of our stand and as a reminder of the ravages of Dutch elm disease, and in the background will be the re-emergence of our new young healthy elms. It's really the culmination of nearly 20 years' work that was started by a vision my friend Melvin Crowe from the local district council had. I then potted them on, and as the years went by, I realised that they were still completely healthy and showing no signs of Dutch elm disease. Only the passage of time will tell us whether these trees are actually immune from Dutch elm disease, but what we can say happily is they've got a very high resistance to it. The idea of going to Chelsea is very exciting, and what sort of response will we get? Well, I think we're going to get tremendous response from my generation. We'd like to inform the younger generations of the importance of the elm, and hopefully we can involve them and educate them and get them into the process of returning the elm to its former glory.
Paul, it's wonderful to feel an elm leaf again.
Yes,
how old, then, are your oldest progeny from that big elm?
Well, the original cutting's 20 years old now, Alan.
And they're still okay?
Yeah, they're fine, yeah.
And these youngsters here, how old are they?
Well, they are the result of micropropagation.
So these are raised in test tubes?
That's right, yeah. They're about 9 years old now out of the test tube, yep.
That, of course, is an original one, then, presumably.
It is an original one, yes. In actual fact, that was my coffee table until 2 weeks ago, but don't tell the missus.
So you felt that, presumably, is that
the
old one?
I did feel that one, yeah.
You see, this is the saddest thing, isn't it, Paul, that we know that young people today, people under what age, do you think?
Under 50-ish, and, you know, being at Chelsea all week, it's evident that the younger generations don't know what they missed.
They don't know what an elm tree looks like.
Well, you know, in the 70s, me and you were old enough to remember that there are nearly as many elm trees as there are oak trees today.
There's Brighton, for instance, where there are mature elms. Why do you think they managed to survive in Brighton?
I've had contact with Brighton over the years, I was aware of the fact that, having been involved in felling some of the original elms, that the tree officer of the day in Brighton was vociferous and used the wider community to stop any timber lorries coming into Brighton.
So the beetle wasn't brought in?
Absolutely.
And he had the sea behind him, so in theory they couldn't come in that way.
That's right, and all the timber lorries that were flying around the UK were acting as a vector for the disease as well.
Now, are these trees which the beetle doesn't like? The thing is, they've all been hybridised, haven't they? Which is why there's sort of resistant clones here then.
I know we don't want to get into Richens, but R.H. Richens on the Oxford Journals, it's all in there about how most elms have hybridised, and these are probably a combination of Ulmus glabra, procera and carponifolia.
All of which the beetle doesn't seem to like, we hope.
Well, the combination of it anyway, and these more smooth-leaved elms that have a slightly more pendulous effect.
We will keep our fingers crossed that they last for that long than 20 years, and good for you for doing it, Paul.
Well, thanks a lot, Alan.
Pleasure. Good to see you.
Bye.
Every year, the wonderful ladies and gentlemen who grow things come here to show off their wares, but so too do the National